What's up, YouTube? This is Splurge, your captain of the Bracknell Beedrills. We're going to be covering UPC Season 2, I'm playing catch up on all of the battles that we've already played. We're heading into week 5 now, we're going to go over week 1. We were playing Honor, captain of the Portland Primeapes. Generally, his team is disgusting. It just, all of his offensive mons put pressure on my team. I had a real issue in prepping because generally a Mewtwo, Weavile, Mega Blaziken fighting Dark Psychic Core is beyond funny. It's just straight ridiculous. So going into prep, I team built quite intensively. I worked on a Milotic with easy pickings. Shout out for him. So we finished up on a Marvel Scale Flame Orbed coil set, this mon could pretty much tank hit from most sets. With fully Spadef, and it's able to just sit there in front of Mega Blaziken and just take a hit. The rest of the team, I brought Ditto. It is the saviour for my draft. I'll be first to admit that I did not draft a quick team, and so Ditto is where this makes up for it, because against all of the stupendous overpowered mons in UPC, this thing is able to come in imposter and is able to fight back against just the ridiculous stats some mons have. But so I brought Ditto in the hope of either switching in on a Mega Blaziken or on Mewtwo, as gaining either of those onto my team could have produced a reverse sweep. I then decided to bring Hawlucha, Francine. She's going to be kicking some Pokemon's teeth in this season, I hope. I decided to bring Psychic Seed along with Tapu Lele. It's a bulk up, it's a sub bulk up. Yeah, just when you think that everything's working, everything decides to keel over. But so, where was I? So I was talking about basic Subseed, Acrobatics, Drain Punch, Hawlucha, which is going to work with Tapu Lele, because once this thing gets into Unburden, it outspeeds everything on his team. Mewtwo can't outspeed it with a Choice Scarf. It's the only other speedy thing on my draft, and against the offensive trio that he had, I needed this sorely. And so with one bulk up, I seem to remember calcing that I should be able to punch through a reasonable amount of his team. Tapu Lele was an interesting build. So I went full speed, max HP screens, so that I could safely get Hawlucha in against pretty much anything, or at least have a better chance of making Francine stay on the field longer. And so, I mean, you'll see how well that went off. And then it's got Psychic Focus Blast, just as single stab move in case a Blaziken decides to set up whilst this is in, and I decide to no-balls it and see what happens, and then Focus Blast for Weavile, just in case I'm switching. The next mon that I went for was Chuck. This is our Crocodile. I went for a Truffleberry Intimidate Stealth Rock set with Taunt. This was another kind of desperate hope to ensure that Blaziken didn't set up on me, as in Season 1 I pretty much lost to a Mega Blaziken just setting up on me and then wreaking havoc through my team. We've talked about Milotic, just is a huge wall. And then finally, my final one was a Lilligant. This is Nightlock, and so I brought Worry Seed Quiver Dance Lilligant. This is again to try and combat the two speed boost mons which are on Honor's team. The Quiver Dance was in case I could reverse sweep if I managed to take out Weavile or Blaziken early on. But generally this was just a covering all basis Sackmon as well. Yeah, so I mean, with the replay you can see that the team that Honor brought was Mewtwo, Weavile, Mega Blaziken, Ludicolo, Gliscor and Manectric. I feel as if something which I'm learning to understand for myself is that I focus too much on my opponent's offensive presences and completely forget some of the low tier mons. It's something that I'm working with right now and hoping to get better with. But so as we go into the replay, so he leads Ludicolo, and I send out Chuck just to try and get rocks up. I calced it, and a Hydro Pump from a Ludicolo was not going to end well, or a Giga Drain. And so kind of at this point I realised, my team doesn't have anything for a Ludicolo. So I bring out Ditto to scout out what his moveset was. He Ice Beams me, which is a fair play. I don't know what he was planning for me to bring out. So I switch out to Milotic, and as you can see, this is only just going to be a 4-hit KO, which is a good thing at least on my part, as so Milotic won't be going down well. I can scout out what kind of set he is, what EV spreads. He goes for so I go for a Scold, he goes for a Giga Drain again, at which point I'm now under half, so I'm forced into either recovering or switching. And so I recover, and so he goes for the Giga Drain again. So this is purely just trying to chip down and wear down my Milotic. So we go through a couple of phases of just me recovering and him Giga Draining, as we try and work out who's going to blink first into switching, at which point after a couple moves Manectric comes in against the Milotic, and so this is just not a good position for me to be in. So I switch out into Chuck, expecting a Thunderbolt because it's a safe play. He has Ludicolo in, so at this point I just decide to sack Chuck and go for the Stealth Rocks, get my rocks up, break any sash that there might be, and then I'm also able to get a knockoff off, which was kind of key in taking down Ludicolo because it's Assault Vest. And so this gives me an opportunity to bring in Tapu Lele without taking any damage and start setting up screens. He goes for the Scold. It is not a 4-hit KO, which is beautiful. I managed to get off the light screen as well. So he's doing nothing to me. And then Psychic does over half without Assault Vest. So at this point I'm in the drawing seat of taking out one of the mons which I really just had nothing for, without Hawlucha already popping the Psychic Seed early. Here he brings in Gliscor. I was worried for a possible knockoff or anything along those lines. I wanted to preserve Tapu Lele for the late game so that we can safely set up Hawlucha. He brings in Mewtwo against the Milotic, at which point I just go for a safe Scold because Gliscor doesn't want to stay on that, and it's doing something to any of the mons which come in. He switches back out to Gliscor. As I recover, I was expecting a Psy Strike or a possible Thunderbolt from the Mewtwo on coverage. He goes for the roost, at which point I go for the skull because it's a no-brainer. It does over half, which is really quite nice to see. And Milotic is just still, it's sitting out there and being a beautiful wall. So we managed to get the burn on Gliscor, which is kind of nice. It neuters his leftovers. I go into Tapu Lele expecting another roost, and he toxics, which is just an awesome play on his part. I start setting up screens again because this is a point where I can really capitalise, because Lele is on the way out, but I can get off a couple of screens. I click Psychic and crit Gliscor, which is kind of critical, and so now I'm going to stop here. So at this point, I looked at Manectric and thought there is nothing here which can really counter it unless Hawlucha gets up a bulk up, which wasn't going to happen because I hadn't got light screen up properly. So I didn't want to go and pop the psychic seed right now. One of the things which I just completely neglected to look at is the fact that Lele was down to 10%, and so it couldn't switch in again and set up Psychic Drain. Generally, the next move is what totally and utterly tanked my game. So instead of just staying in and letting it die, I switch into Lilligant, and then Thunderbolt is doing 2-hit KO, and from here so Lilligant goes down, so I switch into Ditto because I'm expecting it to be Lightning Rod or Volt Absorb. I can't remember which one Manectric gets, and it's not, and we're not 2-hit KOing, whereas his Manectric is, and at this point I just have nothing for this. So Ditto goes down, there goes my win con versus the ridiculous trio. I sack off Lele, and at this point I get quite annoyed because I just realised Stealth Rocks is still a thing. Hawlucha comes in and takes the kill on Manectric, but at this point it's game over. Weavile and Mewtwo just clear from here, and not even Weavile's needed. So Mewtwo comes in, Psy strikes Francine, and then it's just a matter of time before Milotic goes down. So we lose the first game to Honor 3-0. Overall, for such a scary team, I'm happy that I didn't just get annihilated. I mean, there is definite areas where I can improve, and there are areas which I think I'm already doing well with. There are a couple of things which I want to switch with my draft, which I still haven't yet. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I mean, good game, Honor. You played this well, and 2 dancing Ludicolos is the single best thing I've seen in a league match. But yeah, so thanks guys for watching. Of course, subscribe, like, whatever. This is my first video. It's going to be pants. But yeah, I'll catch you guys for the next couple of games, and hope that we can actually do well this season instead of going winless.